there should be a database of all the benefits that you are entitled to.
Yeah.
You don't, especially me, like I don't know any of the benefits that the VA provides unless one of my friends or somebody has told me and like showed me how to do it.
That's how I don't know a single person that hasn't had that same exact experience.
Yeah.
You know, you get out, you get, you know, number one, there's for any veteran, there's a list of entitlements or benefits or whatever. And then they also vary state to state. Mm-hmm. And then at every different level, there are certain tiers of disability ratings. There's another list, and then there's another list of those for the state that you're in.
Yep.
And then, you know, once you get to 100%, there's another list. And even at the maximal level that you can attain, right, there's no database that just gives you all the information. Like, I feel like it's 2023 and we don't have a single website that we can go to and plug in, your discharge status, your disability rating, the state you live in, and whatever else is relevant. And it should just spit you out. Okay, well, on the federal level, you get this stuff. This is, for all this. In this state, you also qualify for X, Y, and Z. Your family qualifies for X, Y, and Z. How do we not have that yet?
I don't know. And you know what they tell you? Oh, contact your local VA.
Yeah.
It has, and I'm sure any military veteran out there that's listening to this podcast knows that is the last thing you want to do is call the VA. Like I had to call them recently and you're on hold for hours. They're not personable. At least I've had very few that are actually are willing to help you out. They're just like, well, I can't help you. And they try to transfer you around to a million different people. Again, I'll give the example I was giving you earlier when I got out, I didn't file for my disability right away because I needed health care. I didn't have a job lined up when I got out. Like kind of all the things they tell you not to do is kind of what I did.
Oops.
So I ended up re-enlisting in the National Guard, the Air National Guard. And, so I waited probably like a year and a half, maybe 2 years before I did my disability claim. And even with that, right? Like in my TAPS class that everybody takes or your separation class that everybody takes, they told me to use a veteran assistance rep, right?
Yeah.
And talking to a couple of buddies I've had, they're like, no, don't do that. I was like, well, why not? Like they're supposed to help you. And it makes sense with what they were saying, but they're like, no, don't use a rep. Like they're not going to get you what you want. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Why? Like they're supposed to, like, that's their job. And he's like, think about it, right? It's a business. Like in the grand scheme of things, yeah, they're there to help you, but they're a business. Like do they want to pay out thousands or millions or whatever? And like the total for all the veterans that get disability is, do they want to pay that out? No. So they're going to look for a reason to not give it to you. Mm-hmm. And like even I am 100% disabled veteran, but there's still things on there that I know 100% I got from the military that they said wasn't service connected.
Right. Yeah.
And like again, it doesn't matter because I'm already 100% no, but if I wasn't in that thing, like would that change my rating? Like,
yeah,
would I need that? Like say I had something really bad and now it's not service connected. Because if you're not, I guess those of you out there who are listening, if you're not 100% and it's not on your record as a service connected disability, you don't get healthcare for it.
Right.
Like, so if I have something that I need to go get looked at, or I got cancer from something from the military and say I don't have healthcare or I have crappy healthcare, like I can't go to the VA because they're like, oh, sorry, this isn't service connected.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy to me.
Yeah. And to go back on the customer service side that we get, the saddest part about it to me is that the vast majority of employees at the VA are veterans.
Yep.
And yet they can't empathize with that like miserable experience. And it's, I don't understand it. Like I have a rating for both of my knees, right? But one of them is my right knee had, MCL tear, whatever. And it's been flaring up real bad lately. I mean, I've like been immobilized several times. So I call up and I'm like, oh, I'll make an appointment. And the earliest one they could get me was, and I called, 4 months ago? The earliest one they could get me was October.
Of course.
I'm like, you don't understand. Like, I can't do a lot of things and I need to be seen. Like, I don't even know like where this rabbit hole will end.
Yeah.
But I can't even start until October. That's ridiculous.
And it sucks too, because like, I'm sure you love Florida, right? You love living in Florida, as I do too. I moved here last year, but Florida, I think if you look, is the highest veteran population
Makes sense.
in the entire US. If not, again, I can't say for sure if it's number one, but I think it's at least like top 5.
Right.
But so like that has to do with how long you're going to wait, right? Especially this area, because I know for a fact this area where we live is worse, because you have Eglin, you have Tyndall, you have Duke, you have all these different bases in this small area. So, I mean, they just need more VAs. And I know you need more doctors. It's easy to say, like, you need more everything.
Sure.
But with that many veterans in a small area, like, of course you're going to wait times are going to be that.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. And, you know, like I'm not in the medical field, but I could imagine, you know, even just getting more, you know, practitioners or someone that can at least evaluate and do a basic triage and order some basic tests. You know, you don't have to be a doctor to give a knee exam. You know, there's plenty of corpsmen that were, you know, at commands that were doing knee exams and shoulder exams and whatnot. And they can figure out, like, okay, does he need an X-ray? Does he need an MRI? They know the difference.
No, absolutely. How many times do you go, like when we were on active duty, did you have a long wait time? Like most of the time, like I had an appointment within like a week or so.
Yeah.
And again, it was because of that. Now I could tell you, I never really saw a doctor.
Right.
It's always a corpsman or somebody, but at least, like you said, I was getting the diagnosis. So why does everything have to be through the VA is what I don't understand. Especially if the VA is so backed up. Cool. We have 3 military bases here. Let me go to one of the military hospitals and set up an appointment and then have them look at me. Now I know a lot of people, military people, be like, "Is that what you really want?" But
yeah.
But I mean, also, at least I'm getting seen, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the counter argument to that would be, you know, you don't want to then cause a longer wait time for the active duty guys, you know, which I could see, you know, could be an issue, but
which is fair. But then
you can work that in, give preferential treatment, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like if it's between me and the active duty guy, obviously give it to the active duty guy. But I know they have people in their scheduling department that you call in, and at least it would help alleviate it again. And you have the military people that, their families go, and it's very similar. So again, I'm not telling you that send everybody there, but again, if that VA is swamped, why not look into it, right? At least it gets me seen and I don't have to wait months.
Yeah, or
if it's
also
an opportunity.
Streamline the process to go see a non-VA doctor, non-military doctor, like
absolutely,
and give choice. Damn it, you know, like I called, you know, because the same thing they gave me the option, like, okay, well, if you want, you can put in a referral to go out in town. I said, okay. So how do I do that? Do I tell you, like, do I research it myself and tell you? Like, no, someone will call you. And I got a call like 2 months later, like, you have an appointment on this date at this office, and it's now in September. I was like, all right, it's a little bit better, but why can't I just go out and find, you know, a doctor that will see me and then have them communicate with the VA or whatever and have them pay for this doctor? Like, it shouldn't be this damn complicated.
But I think it goes back to the business thing, right? Like they want to keep it in-house because they want their doctors that they trust to truly evaluate you. And that's where it is difficult because, like, so mine, I'll say I never saw VA. I still haven't been to the VA. I refuse to go. And it's because, like, I'm so terrified of them taking away my rating or them be like, well, I don't agree with that doctor. Now we're going to reevaluate you or something like this. And it's like, no, I did what you guys wanted. I had a multiple medical professionals give me whatever diagnosis that I have. And that should be good enough. Like, why is it? Because I've heard horror stories. Like, I have people that I know personally that has said they've gone into the VA and, for whatever appointment, and they miraculously got a reevaluation. Now, if you're not 100%, yes, you do have periodic. I think you were telling me, was it 5 years periodic?
I don't know. Okay. I don't know.
But I do know for sure
it is
periodic, and I don't know how exactly that works, but they are periodic. But he was telling me that he had a random one very recently after he like went in, and they ended up taking some reevaluating him for certain things. So he lost some percentages.
What?
Yeah. And it's like, again, why is that happening? So because they said it wasn't, or it didn't look like it was currently affecting him like that day. But again, like you were just talking about with your knee, like there's days where, my knee, because both my knees are blown out too. And there are days where my knees are fine. I'm totally fine, and I can walk, I can run, and it's great. And I
Even
feel,
lift.
yeah, and I feel great.
Yeah.
I could squat. But then there's other days where I get out of bed and I have to like really warm up. I have to put like an ice and hot and
One false step.
and to really get my knee or same like my lower back. Like there's times I'll be walking in a parking lot and I'll just like take a wrong step.
Yeah.
And my-
I was in
whole
this
back.
office setting up equipment, unpacking some equipment, and I had to like step over something, and the way my foot landed just tweaked it a certain way. I was in agony for like 2 days.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so I just don't believe that you should be able to reevaluate me because you think I'm fine.
Yeah.
And that just, yeah, it's a whole nother thing. But that's why I think so many veterans are so displeased with the VA and displeased with the government's treatment of us as veterans, because again, like we've given, again, not me because I wasn't in combat, but a lot of the combat guys, like we served for a reason, right? We served to, so we can have the freedoms to make this podcast, so people can like say whatever they want, do whatever they want. Like that's why people can say what they want about America, but it's still the freest country in the world, right?
Yeah.
Like I can say what I want, I can do what I want, and I don't have to, there's no real repercussions, right? Like within our amendments and all of that stuff. But that's just one thing. Like for some reason, the VA, they just want to give us the hardest time about pretty much everything. And back to what I was saying originally, my example was because I got into the Guard, I applied for my VA benefits in February, and then I was granted my VA benefits in September of 22, so just recently. And then when I got those benefits, so you can't double dip from the federal government. So if you're drilling, you can either get your drill pay, which for most people is like $250 a month, or you can get, if you're 100% disabled, you can get your full disability payment, which is right now I think is what, like 4,100-ish, something like that.
Yeah, depending on how many dependents you have and everything, but pretty good.
Yeah, so I think any normal person is going to pick that one, which is what I did. So while I wasn't getting, or because they back pay you, but even though I wasn't getting paid for February, March, April, May, June, July, August, I didn't get paid, started getting paid until September. So I basically had 7 months of back pay. Well, because I was drilling in a drill status, my 1 weekend a month, they all of a sudden hit me up. What are we in July of 2023? Sent me a message saying that I owe them $3,500 because I was double dipping. And I'm like, what do you, and so I had called them and I was like, hey, like, I don't know what this debt is. Like, I'm not getting, and they're like, well, we've sent you multiple letters. And I was like, okay, like I get that, but I didn't get any letters, like trying to be super respectful to the guy. Right.
Yeah.
And he just, well, I don't know. I can't help you. I'm like, okay, but like, I need help. I don't know where this debt is coming from. Like I right now I'm not working. Like I'm relying on this disability to take care of my family. Like this is what it's here for. Like I'm struggling to find a job. And I think some of it is the disability and some of it is different things, but, yeah, like I truly am struggling. And so like, I need this money. Like you can't take it away from me or take big payments. Like I need to live.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you were double dipping. And I was like, well, yeah, but I wasn't getting paid at that time. Like, yes, it is back pay and you guys do calculate it, but like, I'm not making a paycheck. Like I'm not making near $4,100 during that time. Again, like, cool, take the $250 away for the 6 months and that's not going to equal $3,500 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and then the other way they do it is, I guess apparently he was telling me that they think a 4-hour workday, or they do it in 4-hour blocks. So basically my 2 days that I was working was equal to 4 days is how they were figuring it. And
ridiculous.
And I'm trying to stay calm with this guy. Like I'm getting frustrated. He just keeps repeating himself. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. And I'm like, well, he's like, we sent you letters. And I was like, he's like, well, and I was like, okay, well, regardless of me owing you guys, like, how do I set up the payment plan? Like, can you help me with that? Well, we sent you a letter. Okay, but what I'm getting at, man, is like, hey, like,
help me.
Yeah, like I'm not getting the letters. Like I'm on the phone with you now. Like, cool, let's just figure this out while I'm on the phone, because obviously something's wrong with the letters. He's like, well, the letter will explain it when it gets there. He just kept going, and I like finally I had to just hang up. Like I was losing it. I was like, my wife. I came in and I was just huffing and puffing and frustrated. I was like, what's going on? I was like, that's why I don't go to the VA.
It's 2023, and they still rely on email or on snail mail correspondence. And if you call, and I've had several of their letters come through, right? And I'll have questions about it. And I've called them up and said, oh, we can't discuss that over the phone. There's a letter about it. No. I know I'm holding the letter. I have questions about your letter. Like, well, you can file a complaint or you can, file a reassessment or whatever the hell. I'm like,
And you have to verify all this information over the phone that they know it's you. Like, I know people can find that stuff out, but the amount of information that I have to verify, I'm like, the odds of this being somebody else are very slim right now. Okay.
how are we doing? How are we not like, I don't understand how there's not like,
Well, and they have an app. That's what's crazy. But like,
and it sucks.
It does.
It's the worst app.
Well, and he straight up told me when I called him, he said, the app is down and we don't know if it'll ever be fixed. Those were his exact words. And I was like, well, okay.
Ever?
So what's the point of of having the app? Like, I can't have, so every correspondence I get from you guys is going to have to be through snail mail. Like,
Yep.
you can't just put it into my profile. So when I check my VA, like monthly or weekly, whenever I do, be like, oh, hey, look, I owe this much money now because they sent me a message or like whatever. Like you said, it's insane.